Hi kids, welcome to the Lisbon Library's December 2020 STEAM Lab. This month we'll be looking at dissolving little candies, candy canes, or starlight mints. You can stop by the children's room and pick up a small packet of experimental supplies while they last, but we'll get right into it. You also need some sort of bowl or flat dish. I'm using a baking pan that's clear with a little white paper underneath of it to see some of the results a little easier. But whatever you have at home should work. And we'll try the experiment 3 ways: warm water, and then also with cold water. And you can try vinegar at home if you have any. See how that works as well to dissolve those candies, and we'll see what happens. So here we go. So the pan is filled with warm water, and I'm just going to very gently place these in here, trying to disturb the water as little as possible so it doesn't shake around. And we're just going to see what happens. As the water dissolves the sugar, hopefully we'll start to see a little reaction happen here. You can see it's a pretty quick process. See if I can get some better view without as much glare. There's lines of green dye pretty quickly spilling out, and there's some red as well. And if that water is fairly motionless, it will stay in those sort of little streamers coming out from the candy. I'll see if I can add a little piece of candy cane as well without disturbing the water too much. And it looks like the candy cane doesn't have those distinct streams of red or green coming from it. It's more of just a pinkish color coming out from all over. That is pretty cool. You can see on the green one, there's already some of the dye seems to be disappearing completely from the candy itself. And we'll see what happens if they mix red and green, if they interact at all or not. It looks like they're making a little barrier almost. It's also interesting the dye is going from the green one towards the red one and the red one towards the green one. And then they're not really mixing in the middle there. It's not what I expected at all. And that red candy cane is also going towards the red mint, and they don't seem to be mixing very much. There's a really long stripe of it coming along the glass there. And you can try this with other hard candies that you have at home that have dye. Maybe try Skittles or M&Ms. See if there's any difference in the reaction with that warm water. So most of the dye has come off of those white starlight mints. There's a little bit left there. And the water is getting much, much more diffuse. Candy cane is taking a lot longer for the dye to go away. Those Starlight mints are pretty much, except for one or two spots, they're pretty much all the dye is gone. I'm going to try and pick up the red one very carefully. You can see even the bottom part here is starting to dissolve. And the green one is as well. And once I stir that up, some of that dye is moving around a little bit. It all seems to be coating the bottom of the pan. It's really sort of hanging out at the very bottom. I don't think I can get a clear shot of that. That is pretty cool. So now, after that result, we're going to try it with some cold water and see if there's any difference in what happens. So now I've refilled the pan with some cold water and let it sit for a minute so it's not moving around too much. Again, gently put these in here. And we had a pretty quick reaction last time with the hot water. We'll see if there's any real change with cold water. You can start to see the dyes coming off. Still those lines of color. Doesn't appear to be quite as fast, but it is a lot faster than I really expected it to be. And I'm not sure if the lines are quite as distinct as with the hot water. But they're still flowing toward each other. And not really mixing. You can see those very faint lines coming off of the candy cane. So it looks like the dye must be heavier than the water, and it's sort of sinking down. It's not really moving around very much. It wants to sort of settle at the bottom of the pan. A little hard to see on the video, but I'm very interested to see they don't really mix at all. Those two colors just don't want to mix. So I paused the video for a little bit. It's been maybe 2 minutes, and there's still a fair amount of dye left on the mints themselves. It's starting to get to the point where it's almost gone. So I think that part has gone a lot slower than the hot water. And now it is getting to the point where it's slowly disappearing completely from the starlight mints. It'll be interesting to see if you do this experiment at home, do you come up with the same results I do? Maybe it'll be faster or slower. You can also try using some vinegar and see if that makes any difference. I don't have any vinegar here at the library, so I won't be able to do that experiment. I was hoping to, but we'll just use the hot water and cold water. But it is kind of fascinating to see how they really do not mix up at all in the center there. can see even the candy cane and the green starlight mint, there's a very strong line where they don't mix. So I'm going to see if I can stir that up a little bit, if that will mix. You can see those dyes are moving around quite a bit now. They still don't want to really do a lot of mixing. They're still a lot heavier than the water. So they settle down pretty quick. And most of the dye is completely vanished from the starlight mints at this point. Still a bunch coming off of the candy cane. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Have fun with your experiment at home. Remember to stop by the children's room at the Lisbon Library for your activity supply kit for this month's STEAM Lab. And we'll have another program soon. Bye, kids.